Welcome to my show. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to be touching base on pretty much everything that's going on today. This is the Great Awakening, as people would say. This is the reversing of black magic. This is returning back to the center point of creation, returning back into the prophecies. Prophecies, biblical stuff, all this stuff people have been talking about for generations. Ever since you were born, and we're in the mix. We're in the fire, and things are coming to the surface that people can't comprehend, even though that they have they've known about it, they've seen it throughout Hollywood, throughout the music industry, the political stuff, the church, So there's a lot of stuff that goes on, but this being, people like to call it ascension, but there's an underbelly, and the underbelly comes with a frequency. You have this whole thing of becoming enlightened and lifting oneself up out of the fall, because we're in the fall, we're in Babylon, and the consciousness of humanity is on the lower end of not being connected to Mother Earth, not being connected to the Sacred Mother, the Divine Father, their spiritual parents. And there's a lot of things intertwined with the situation of what it really means to return back to the tree of life. There's a lot of stuff. Everything has been hijacked. The storylines of ancient history, the storylines of Adam and Eve, and truly what creation is when it comes to magic, and what magic is when it comes to creation, because there's spiritual manipulation within the body, which has taken people away from the truth. And what you're seeing today of being within the matrix, within everything of alien form, lizard form, and all of this stuff, the spiritual manipulation and the story that has been told to the people in all aspects of everything. The prophecies are here. The prophecies have been completed, and everything has come back into the center point within the lotus wheel, and realchemizing the Sacred Mother's womb within the alchemical flames of creation that rise out of the water, through the water and through the sun. There's people look outside of themselves at the planets, the sun and the moon and the stars and all the planets, and the zodiac wheels, and everyone with the horoscopes and stuff like that. But it's much deeper when it comes to understanding what creation is, because we're getting into the alchemy and the elements and symbols and the numerical codes that come with frequencies. It's not just that 432 hertz is a sound within music. It's a numerical code within time and space, and within all of the frequencies and numerical codes and so forth. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the underworld, and there was a lot of stuff going on in the spiritual world of DNA manipulation, and this has been going on ever since the fallout of the tree. And DNA manipulation is the quote, getting into the temple. It is the getting into the feminine. As the saying goes, the fallen got into the feminine. Um, they can put in quotes of giants, but it's not, people are stuck in the material sense and don't understand what has happened in ancient history within the spiritual water and the fire of, because you have to look at it all in the elemental um, form of creation. Um, people looking at the 3, 6, and 9, and Sun Cross, Medicine Wheels, and Mayan calendar. The Mayan calendar has been fixed, but there is this as above, so below within the teachings, and the underbelly is nothing. It's not a bad place. It's just it's where you were born from. It's just where humanity was born from, and it's the darkness. It's the porthole through. Jumping into the light, into the darkness from heaven, into the darkness of your divine mother. Divine mother's womb, and coming out on this other end here, in this reality. This is the higher consciousness of coming through the portholes of creation in the micro and the macro throughout time. And so the codes have been fixed, and the rainbow has been fixed. There's a threshold. There's a lion at the gate. The red, green, and gold crown colors that people, Judah and Jah, and it's all still the reflection. It's the same thing. Nothing has changed. It's just everything has been taken back and been reversed from the pentagram, the North Star, the realigning the Hob, fixing and removing the dream spell of the Mayan calendar, and because that's what it was. It was the disconnection of the Hob and the Mayan and the Tolkien calendar, all within the creation of the unity of the lotus. We'll put it. We're coming into the fire horse and the serpent and the rainbow prophecy and the Quetzalcoatl and emerald flame, and there's all kinds of good stuff that's taking place within the spirit, but it's what has happened within these generations and over ancient history of complete darkness, of the fallen getting into the feminine, and what has happened through the sacrificing of the feminine and all of the tribes around the world on every single timeline. And so, you're getting into the DNA, getting into your chakra system, and you get into your symbols and your numbers and stuff like this, where before you were able to speak as a child, you had to learn stuff. And so when they talk about being the standing rainbow, you were a rainbow within the water. So when you were manifested into this reality, you came through the sun cross, you came through the medicine wheel, you came through all the animals, you came through the elements, you came through the purity of the sacred water and the sacred fire. But that's the part where you're looking into DNA that is has been manipulated over time, and what they have been doing behind the curtain. And that's the part that is a frequency within itself. And the frequency within itself, that doesn't want, they don't, the energy of ancient history and the energies of what happened after Jesus died. You don't want the energies of this stuff. And that's the problem with people attempting to climb up Jacob's ladder, trying to get back into heaven. Um, as they say, the Illuminati and these false Masons of today are not of an enlightenment status. They are of the fallen ones who have stolen the Hermetic codes. But everything has come back into play of returning the information in the sacred path, the sacred rainbow, the 7 gates, 8th gate, 9th gate, initiation, which is the numerical codes from the 1 and the 0. That's the problem that people can't access. They're not able to get into the numerical codes of the sacred geometry within the 16-month calendar, which is the 88, and it's deep within the symbols, which is deep within your DNA, which is deep within what comes out of your water, deep within understanding the truth of your Kundalini, because the realm that is, people attempting to get the Buddha status, but you're outside of Buddha's temple. So attempting to get the Buddha status, it's understanding the past, because we are in the humanity is outside of Buddha's temple. Okay, that's the part, if you put it in a certain perspective. The fire that has already been manipulated within the people. The water went away, even with the Native Americans. So if the water went away with the Native Americans, went away from the feminine and Nordic times, they were able to access, put it this way, the shield fell. The ice wall fell. And so they had access to get behind the ice. If you know Enoch and all this stuff, they couldn't follow him through the snow because they don't have no water. The freezing puts out the fire. So the situation people can't comprehend, because this is Babylon. People go left, people go right, left, right, left, right. You don't know the spiritual truth because the mind was corrupted. Your body's corrupted, your mind, your heart, everything has been corrupted to just seeing outside of yourself and not knowing what the truth is, the spiritual truth. You don't, without going to the news or to anybody else to find out what it is, because people haven't done their research into the information that is needed. 1, to ascend. 2, going into the e-files. A lot of people talk about it. I'm not saying it. There's what has been taking place is too dark for people to go into. You had all of these stories, all this stuff that took place since 2012, or the whole thing with pizza. A lot of information has come out, but it's not just now. It's not just about this island. It's not just about this one person. It's what has been going on ever since the fall of the tree, ever since the chaos, the rage, jealousy that people talk about, all of the wars. But what does it all reflect into today, when people don't have the consciousness to understand even Jesus and Mary and the Divine Mother and the whole storyline of the biblical times? You can say you're Christian, you can say you're Jewish, you can say whatever you want in a religious form, but there's all these tribes. There's all this information. There's Mother Earth. There's all this stuff that came before the biblical times. There's all this stuff that people can't tap into or even understand in their consciousness when they're talking about space and time, of returning back to where they fell from. Where are you going within time and space? Not understanding. Even if you are told the Mayan calendar was corrupted, because the Mayan calendar is still the center point. It's Maya, it's Buddha's mother, It's the circle, squares, time, and space, and it's everything that has to do with the keepers. And there's one keeper today. Because there's many steps of understanding. There's many steps into the numerical codes of climbing your ladder, climbing Jacob's ladder. You talk about the Ouroboros, you could talk about animals, you talk about all this stuff, but that's where animals were corrupted, planets were corrupted, the universe was corrupted, the Pleiadians, Mother Earth, the Sacred Mother, all this stuff. So you want to talk about the feminine, talk about the masculine, the frequencies. Everything is a frequency, even the perversion. The perversion fell out of time. What people are going to see and what people, the energies, you know, there's stuff in scriptures that speak on people will fall to their knees. People won't be able to withstand the energy because they won't. It's from my spiritual experiences. Okay, I'm 1 year, 3 steps ahead of what's going on. I've already been reinitiated back into all of the original tribes. You know, you put it all into the initiation of many timelines. Okay, self-initiated back into stuff. And what does it take to get initiated back into this stuff? Back into the mystical stuff. You don't want, you know, people, this whole whatever. Words are just words. Anybody can say they're a shaman. Anyone can say they're a druid. Anyone can say that they do Reiki. Anyone can say that they're going galactic, that they channel the Pleiadians. People can say anything. It's all about one's frequency. It's all about one's soul travel of going into the darkness of what they've been doing this whole entire time. So people say that they come here and they giving information back to Creator and all this stuff. You know, that's what this is. We're all light workers, right? But some of us have more soul experience than others to be able to go into realms where other people die. The things that I have witnessed in spirit when it comes to what they do behind the curtain, what they do to the children. I've soul traveled into these locations, as they say, to bring information back. To destroy the frequencies of the situation. Because us moving back in the purity of creation, the perfect balance of the kundalinis, the masculine, the feminine, the yin and the yang, the intertwining of the marriages, the intertwining of the infinity, the fire and the water, connecting the DNA strands, reconnecting the flames, and transmuting them. The fire water. Without the ones who have manipulated things. See, there's this whole thing about the giants, and there's this whole storyline of what took place back in, I think, the 90s. I think it's in the E-Files, but it's all been there. It's all, all this, stuff. And there's a storyline of them finding a giant, and them finding the blood of the giant. See, what this is what people can't comprehend, what their own blood is. It's an energy frequency. If they there's this, what's the word, the Cabbage Patch thing, growing babies. They wish to merge the blood with technology. That's what they're doing. Trying to regenerate the giant's blood within the AI. You see, people don't understand the technology and how the technology that they have created can be linked to the human. People see the stuff out there today. Arms and whatever, legs, and there's all this cool stuff with attaching everything to your nerves, robotic arms and hands and stuff. But growing it together, merging it into one is something different. If you're going back into history, see, the thing is, they can't create man. They don't have any sacred water, so they needed to bring in, because within your blood is water. Okay, the transmutation of the sacrificed ancestors, the ones who were sacrificed, the ones who were held in spiritual bondage, have been freed. That has taken place. They're no longer in spiritual bondage. There's no longer ancestors to feed off of. They have no water. They have no fire. The only fire, the only blood, the only fire is what they have that they could put into and regenerate the AI. Okay. There's no water in there. The water has been separated. The ancestors, purified in the violet flame through the fire and the water. They say 1/3. See, that's the thing. 1/3 is also 13. The 13 is also 4. The 4 is also 31. There's a lot of different topics. There's a lot of different things. Everything is energy. This is ascension. These are the end of days. This is Babylon. Your consciousness is messed up because people go left, people go right. People may attempt to go down the middle road, but they can't access it because they haven't been initiated back through the fall. What is the first frequency out of the fall? If you look at Big Bang, an abortion, volcano, because this is all symbolism. Too much fire, not enough water. Manipulate the water, or you break the in the gnosis, you break the shell of the egg. The egg comes out. The symbolism, everything is within, as people say, within themselves. But the mind can't grasp the higher consciousness of a soul being. There's a lot of first timers, first incarnated, second, third, however many times you've been here, but no one knows the Akashic. Only a few could actually read the Akashic records and understand. But it's the people who are attempting to become more spiritual, reach Jesus, go back to Christ, go galactic. They want something else besides religion. People know about religion. Okay, people know what has happened. They know about the government, and they know of all this stuff, but what is taking place today is the complete reflection of ancient history, because the first energies out of the fall was chaos and rage. So we've gone since 2012. I put it in the perspective of going back into ancient history and cleaning up all these timelines so we can return back to where we fell from. But that is the part where traveling forward, traveling spiritually, and understanding how it reflects within you, within time and space, and how every day is the same, but seeing outside of yourself what is going on, the chaos, the rage, and stuff. Because this is the coming into the unity, the oneness, the rainbow tribe of all cultures, because every culture and everywhere around the universe and around Mother Earth, there's a rainbow. You know, there's all the planets, there's everything within you, and you know, the bottom line is I understand the trauma. I understand the energies of what has happened to the children. I understand what has happened to the feminine and some of the men, to the point of where what this is one doesn't need to experience it materially. When one experiences it spiritually through demonic visions and soul traveling into places where it's actually happening, and where knowing the energies of what needs to be purged, and how these ones out there today who you know cannot return back into heaven, they can't return back to heaven. This is that stuff that they have done in ancient history when they talk about burning the feminine, killing the feminine, the abortions and ripping people apart and all of this medieval stuff. It's the same thing today, but it's gone underground. And that's where people can talk about the stories. They can see shit in the movies, but if they don't see it with their own two eyes, they're not going to be able to comprehend it spiritually. This is why this is that part where people ignore the situation. This is why Africa is still the way that it is. But this is that time of the Great Awakening, as people have been saying. This is the returning back to the Sacred Mother, to Mother Earth. But the people have to go through that path, the spiritual path of understanding what has been going on within creation. People can try and ignore it and see, and try and act separate from the situation as a whole and just do their 9 to 5. But there's still the energy, because Mother Earth has already ascended. The feminine have ascended. The Hob calendar, all the 365, the 260, 13, the 20, the 52, everything that is coded, the 432, the 144, which breaks down, which is your 108, your 819 or 918 hertz codes, 144, which breaks down into 72 and 72 higher demons, 72 lower demons, breaks down into 99, 9 and 9, so it's people don't understand anything. spiritually, within depth of the sacred geometry, and what creation really is, because it's people talk too much without understanding what it is. You got your sacred sacred animals, and every tribe had different animals, different types of dogs, some different types of cats, different types of serpents and so forth. And so we're looking at it today within the belly of the beast, because everything is within the belly of the beast. And just the word beast can reflect to a horse, can reflect to dragon, dog, wolf, whatever you want it to be. But it's just what they used back in the day, beast. But when you reconnect yourself to the animals and the symbolism, you are the beast. You become one with the animals again. And there's a lot of, so we have to return back into our unity. But that's the part people don't understand, because left, right, left, right, left, right, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. But yeah, the AI and, and all this stuff, it goes deeper into the AI, because like I said, that's where they uploaded the blood to and regenerated the blood, and everything that is in the underbelly, and what they've been doing today, reflecting the Cabbage Patch, and reflecting the trying to create their own thing, because it's also the robots, it's the AI, it's what's the statues, the golden calf, the terracotta statues in China, because they wanted to possess the terracotta statues in China, but that was shut down. That's the part of possession. They try and possess things, make things come to life. Isn't that what the storyline of Adam is? And hijacking Adam, it's, they can't make things walk. That's the thing. They can hijack you, but they can't create their own. Even if, they making, however it be. So, all right, that's enough. Have a good day.